The Taxpert profit extraction app is a quick and easy way to determine the optimum combination of salary, director's fees, dividends, and possibly other income like interest that a director shareholder can take from their own company. And there are a couple of new features for the 24-25 release. I'm going to show you on screen the figures for 23-24, and just to show how it can be used to give advice for the year that's just ended. But if I scroll across, I can also see 24-25, which has exactly the same functionality. Now, the basic functionality is to enter the amount of trading profit. Let's suppose that the company has £120,000 of profits, and when I enter that, then without any extraction of profit, it works out the corporation tax and shows the distributable profit. Of course, corporation tax is a bit more complicated, and we need to know the number of associated companies, and that should be entered in this red box. But I think unless you've got quite a high number, let's say 10, it won't make much difference. If I have 10, it does increase the amount of corporation tax. If I only have 5, then, it still does. If I go down to 2 associated companies, it still does. If I go down to 1, there's a bit of a difference. If I go back down to 0 associated companies, then we get the original figure. So we can play around with that. Now, you can, of course, simply enter whatever salary, interest from the company, or the employment allowance up to £5,000 if available will affect the calculations. And you can enter the amount of dividend that you want. But let me straight away show you the optimize function. Up here, I've got the first of a couple of macros built into this app. If I click on optimize, then it'll go through some fairly complicated calculations and eventually come up with the optimum combination of salary and dividend. And we do have to wait for it to run through these calculations. You wouldn't believe the amount of worksheets behind all of this. And once I've clicked OK, it then has to go through a routine. But I've now got the answer. As we might have expected, by the way, the optimum salary is 12,570 and the optimum dividends 82,359. And that will give me net income, which down here is calculated 76,645. You can see down here, by the way, that there's scope to put in other income, either self-employment income, you might have a side hustle, or other non-savings income. And if we then go back up to the main input, here's the first, and I think for many of you, very useful change that I've built in this year. And you can see here percentage interest. We've often been asked how to use this for multiple director shareholders. A classic example would be a husband and wife company. So let's suppose you've got 2 spouses with 50% each. If I enter 50%, then what the calculator does is take the appropriate percentage of the profit. So for 120,000, it's 60,000. And it then, when I re-optimize, will tell me what the optimum is for that 50% shareholder director. Having gone through the associated companies example, just look at that figure 10,567. At the moment, we've got 10,567 after 12,570. I don't know if that's going to change or not, but let's optimize. And in fact, it probably won't. What I was thinking was that the built-in functionality now for multiple directors automatically applies the average corporation tax rate for the whole company, even though we've halved the profit. So I've made sure that halving the profit doesn't actually reduce the overall corporation tax bill. But there you've got the solution for that 50% shareholder. And then finally, on the new functionality, here, I've got a new input cell for retained profit carried forward. And that's because we've been asked by some users whether we can structure it so that you don't distribute the entire profit. The optimize function assumes a complete distribution, but let's suppose that the directors here want to retain I won't change it back to 100%, but let's suppose they want to retain 40,000 in total of profit. Well, that would be 20,000 each. So let me put in 20,000 as the retained profit, enter that, and then I would need to re-optimize to see what the combination of salary and dividend would be if we're going to make sure that there's a dividend or a reduced dividend. We just carry forward £20,000. We've got an answer. It takes a while for it then to decide to give us the answer. You can see there the dividend goes down to 16,384 and the retained profit is then carried forward. Let me finally here just put in interest, because quite a useful planning point for many directors is to take interest if they finance their company with a loan. And if we do have interest there, it changes the figures, but I can re-optimize. And if I re-optimize, then that'll give me a different and quite often a better result when I've taken into account the interest payment for the director shareholder. And in fact, once we've done this, I will just show you that and how much you could in fact end up saving. All right, you've got the different figures there, that's fine. But let me scroll across. Actually, I'll reset that to 0. So very simply, if I want to do it for a different client, you can always save under a client name, of course. But let's this time go back to the 100%. And let's suppose the company profits are that same 120,000. And I'm going to distribute everything, so not do any of the new clever stuff. Click on optimize. What I want to show you here is the way in which this app can show you the benefit of making sure that the director shareholder does get paid interest on their loan financing their own company. And yes, it takes quite a long time. Oh, another new feature that I can see at the bottom of the screen while we're waiting is that we've got client reports that you can print out and put in front of your clients that show summary information, show a nice detail of what we've got there. I'm getting a bit fed up with waiting for this, so I'm going to press the S button because that sometimes hurries it up. Solver's paused. I could go, I don't like the idea there. I'm going to stop that and cancel it. I've no idea why it decided not to do that. It may well now, and this is part of the problem. It hasn't, in fact, come up with an optimal solution yet. Can't see any reason why not. So I'm going to try it again. So optimize. It just shows you how complicated all of this sort of stuff is. And the function that we're using to get the optimal result is called solver. And that is a little bit tricksy sometimes, but I'm hoping we've now got the answer. And there it is, 12,570 as the salary, 82,359 as the dividend. Now let's scroll down and look at this figure of 76,602. That is the income that the director shareholder would get on this basis. And what I wanted to show you was if I put in, say, 6,000 of interest, so they might have £100,000 loan financing the company, they take out 6% interest, and then I re-optimized. Do you remember it was 76? Actually, let's take it out again because I can't remember the figure. It was 76,602. That figure down there is what we need to remember, 76,602. And if I put in the 6,000 and then re-optimize and hope it doesn't take too long, 76,602 is what we originally had. What will the director's net income be after that interest of £6,000? We found an answer. The income was 76,602. We're now taking the interest and a lower dividend, but look at that. Net income has gone up by quite a bit, 78,082. So one way of increasing the net income is to make sure you take out that interest. Let me just show you the client report. There's a summary report that you can print out and send to your client showing the share of the profits, 100% for that example, directors' fees, interest, dividends from the company, etc., and the total net income. And then, as with all of my apps, you've got full workings. So the workings for 24/5 are shown there. Zoom in if you want to, but you can see the allocation of allowances, reliefs, etc. And there it is, a very powerful app for extraction of profit calculations, and with those three new bits of functionality for 24-25, percentage interest for multiple director shareholders, the ability to specify an amount of retained profit each year, and also the new client report. Well, I hope that's been a useful run through. If you haven't already downloaded the demo, then please do. Otherwise, buy the actual app and get using it for your clients.